First of all, you only need one job. One job. Concentrate on that. So much of job search is mindset. You need one job. You know, if they are bound and determined to hire somebody 25 years old, they're going to do it. In fact, if you get calls for an interview, you know that they're not bound and determined to hire somebody 25 years old, because they can tell damn well by your resume that you're not 25 years old. So forget about age, because you're just going to put all kinds of negative thoughts in your head that's going to work against you. And the most important thing you can bring to job search is confidence. And anything that's a confidence drainer, like thinking about your age, is just going to make it harder for you. Set your mind to finding out how to get a job, and it's different than it was 5 or 10 or 20 years ago. There's a process that we follow today. It's got a lot to do with networking. So, you know, go to JVS, go to seminars, read books, find out how you do it today. Because it's very easy to blame ageism when ageism is really, I don't think, as much of an issue as what people think it is. And this is the age advantage. It's not only 55. It's really anybody over like 45 today has got challenges in the marketplace. And by the way, don't put seasoned professional on your resume because they're going to think you're like 80. Like you go for an interview, and the first thing that they're thinking about for anybody is like what they call like the 4 C's. Are you competent? Can you do the job? And if they call you for an interview, they probably figure you probably can do the job, and they know how old you are. Secondarily, they want to know, you know, are you compatible with our culture here? In fact, you may want to look at a smaller company or a mid-sized company that might really appreciate the experience that you bring. Third thing is chemistry, is, you know, connecting with the hiring manager. So what you really want to do is kind of get around HR people and go right to the hiring manager, because they're going to be much more forgiving. And then the fourth thing is compensation, and something, you know, we already talked a little bit here about compensation. And you do need to be more flexible than you might have been 5 or 10 years ago, but you really shouldn't be too flexible. You know, you really should get what you're worth. Don't take a job where you feel that you're being compensated unfairly, because that's just going to like grind away at you, and the job's not going to work out. Seasoned professionals bring a lot that younger people cannot. And I made a list here. Okay, so here are some. Reasoning and planning skills, communication skills are much more highly developed than young people. Relationship building skills. And you also have a much greater network than young people do. Well, you should by the time you get to a certain age. So you should be tapping that network, because most jobs, as I said, are got through networking. You have a lot more achievements and accomplishments and maybe some awards that young people can't match. You have some personality traits that are proven, like resiliency, like integrity, where you can really talk about how you've brought those kinds of characteristics, personal strengths, to your work in the past. Professionalism. You should all be much more professional than somebody, you know, 25 or 27 years old. But there are also some negative stereotypes that are associated with being seasoned, and I'll tell you what some of those are. Overqualified, overpriced, and then they may get the impression from you that, you know, that you're kind of in sort of the twilight of your career. You might give them the impression that, well, you're just trying to pick up a paycheck, just trying to get to retirement. You know, you're not really that interested in being promoted or really doing a fantastic job. You're not really passionate about the work particularly anymore. But like I said, you know, you're just trying to kind of get through to retirement. Big negative, big negative is technology challenged. And I think Richard mentioned that. Or even technology phobic. You know, it's like, you know, you really need to get across that you're comfortable with technology. Inflexibility. You know, I think older people are like, hey, we did it this way 20 years ago, there's nothing wrong with it, we should still do it that way, you know, and feel superior to younger workers, which are your boss. There's a lot of that. Let me tell you, Sonny, like, let me tell you how you really do it there. And they are very afraid of that. So anything that you say or do that reminds them of those negatives, and that can be in your value statement, you know, your elevator pitch, it could be in your resume, it could be in your cover letter, And certainly in the interview process, anything that reminds them of all those negatives is going to be a big setback to your job chances. A lot of over 55ers are being hired, but a lot of that are contract workers, part-time workers, temporary workers, and there's nothing wrong with that if that fits into your career path, because that can lead to a full-time job. And the same thing is true of volunteer work. Volunteer work can lead to full-time work. Particularly if you're 55 or so, keep your options open. There are a lot of positive age stereotypes that seasoned professionals bring. Reliable, punctual, you're a loyal employee, right? Mature, young person can't be mature, right? Stable, great work ethic, plus you need the socialization. People are not retiring that much anymore, and part of it is finances, but the other part is that people they don't want to sit around in a rocking chair anymore the way they might have years ago. But then younger people bring certain positives as well, and I'll just tick those off. Physically able, healthy, willing to endure long hours at work. And they're not going to have high health care costs. They're easy to supervise. They're more flexible. They have lower salary expectations. They're thrilled to get the kind of money that that you would turn down. They're very technology savvy. They may be viewed as more creative, and certainly viewed as more energetic. When you go for a job interview, which of those things do you want to stress? I'm going to give you the answer because typically I ask this question, nobody ever gets it right anyway. It's all of those things. Okay, you need to be all the things that they're expecting, but you don't really need to harp on those things. They're expecting those things. I wouldn't even talk about those things. You're punctual and you're experienced, and they know that. They can see your resume. They know you're experienced. They know you're going to be on time. They know you're loyal, etc. But you need to show them that you bring all those characteristics that younger people bring, like that you're okay with technology, that you're easy to supervise, that you're flexible, that you have a lot of energy. So there's a lot to keep in mind. But so often we reinforce the negatives. Your resume, experienced or seasoned professional with 30 years. They go, well, yeah, they're probably doing things the way they did it 30 years ago. I don't need them. I'll bring somebody younger in here who who's going to be more flexible. The only other thing I wanted to say about that is portray all those things. Leadership, problem-solving ability, communications ability, all the things I talked about, but you should have a car story to back those things up. Car story being an anecdote from your work life where you can say, there was a challenge or a circumstance, I took certain actions, and there was a fantastic measurable result. So you really need to kind of dig down, think about the accomplishments that you've had in your career, get those stories organized, and then go into an interview with a lot of confidence.